Thank you very much. Thank you all for having me here. It's definitely an honor. I wanted to talk a little bit. Oh, wait, where's the gun? Thanks. There we go. That's me. I wanted to talk a little bit today about my story a little bit and how much something that's very typical and considered waste has changed my life, that being chicharrónes, pork rinds, fried pig skin. So I guess it kind of starts, my mother, she's very vocal about some things, and she's always been correct when she says that I always chose to take the hard direction when getting something done. Never really chose the easy route. From being wanting to be a chef and working 100 hours a week, being the first one there, the last one to leave, to starting a company with zero experience and starting a company or running a business, period. So in that sense, I guess my ignorance was bliss because we learned from our mistakes. So the easiest path wasn't always the chosen path for me. A little bit about me. I was born in Kansas City, Kansas, and we lived in Denver, Colorado for a little bit, for my high school career. My mother's side of the family is all from New Orleans. That's me and my sister right there. I don't know how that beer got in front of me. I was pretty young, but my parents had something to do with it. So my mom's side of the family is all from New Orleans. My dad's side of the family is all from Missouri. And so we were a good southern, Midwestern family. We're all about food, hardworking, and community. And the only time it was ever really quiet when the whole family got together was when we were eating. If it was my grandfather bringing up crawfish and crabs from New Orleans, or going over to my grandmother's house for Sunday supper or for Thanksgiving. Being that I had such a great upbringing and knew all what was right and from wrong, I didn't always make the correct decisions. I do remember at the age of 15, I was working as a dishwasher at a restaurant called Perkins in Colorado. The chef asked me to go get some cabbage from the grocery store because we needed it for the slaw, and for some reason at 7:30 in the morning I thought it'd be a good idea to try to steal 40 ounces of malt liquor and stuff them in my apron, and that's definitely an example of the wrong path that I was choosing to take at that moment. So it definitely wasn't the easy path. At the age of about 20, really started to focus on really getting serious about cooking and having something. I wasn't in school. I tried to go to college, didn't really work. From there I did a lot of traveling. I lived in Colorado. I worked in restaurants in South Dakota, all the way to St. Croix in the Caribbean. Ended up in New York City, where I worked there in restaurants for a while and went to culinary school, and happened to end up, I graduated top of my class in culinary school. So somebody that really didn't have much success in traditional education was pretty proud that was able to achieve that. After New York City, ended up living in Calistoga up in the Napa Valley. And that's where my passion for food really exploded. I remember for the first time I had a tomato right picked off the vine. It was still warm from the sun. It just blew my mind how good this could taste. I mean, I'd eaten tomatoes my whole life, but I never had a fresh heirloom tomato fresh off the vine. Not only were it the vegetables and produce that were superior to anything else I had before in my life, we were butchering whole rabbits and whole lambs. And we weren't just butchering them, we were utilizing the whole animal. We were serving a composed plate of a whole rabbit or composed plate of a whole lamb. And it was just an eye-opening that the possibilities that I thought were there were totally endless, and really just kind of got the wheels churning. About 13 years after that, moved to San Francisco, where I still live, and continued to work in fine dining restaurants. And for those of you that worked in restaurants, you know that it is a very intense at times, and the best part of it is the family that you create. We all worked very hard together. We still all work very hard together, and at times we'd celebrate hard together as well. The one thing that was great about working in the fine dining restaurant was that we would buy whole muscles, so we would buy pork chops, and we would cook them perfectly, and we present them perfectly on this perfect plate and present it to the customer. And it was amazing, but I still really wanted more. I wanted to experience more of what I did in Calistoga by dealing with the whole animal. So we always could have amazing pork chops, but I wanted to get whole hogs. I wanted to get whole hogs in and really experience how to utilize this whole thing and present it to the customer and just take on the challenge. Part of the, I remember the first time we got a whole hog, and this was at the 5th floor at the time, it was 280 pounds. I'm about 230, so just imagine 50 more. I mean, we couldn't even really pick this thing up, let alone, cut through the bone. So there was a lot of education there, teaching ourselves how to use it, learn how to make bacon, learn how to make sausage, learn how to make correct broths. We learned how to utilize everything. But the one thing that couldn't really figure out how to utilize was the skin. Continued to throw away skin. I mean, I would even serve it in staff meal, and everybody really liked it until they asked what it was, and then they didn't want it again. So there's still only so much skin it could serve. So that was the challenge. The challenge was how to utilize all this skin to complete this circle of utilizing this whole animal, giving respect to this animal, and to the farmers and the ranchers that raised it. So, what are chicharrones? Chicharrones are pork rinds, fried pig skin. You also don't always be fried. They can be stewed or roasted many different ways. But the one way that I think that why they are so beautiful is the process it takes to make them. Now, traditional pork rinds, you would take some raw skin and you put them in a kettle. And you'd slowly heat that kettle up and slow and low. And during that process, the lard would start to render off that skin. And then the lard fills up, and next thing you know, the skin is submerged. And during the whole cooking process, the skin starts to get nice and tender. And when it gets tender, it's pushing out also all this water, this liquid that's in there. And so it almost cooks to like a skin chip. So it's dehydrated in the lard. So this is fully sustainable. There's nothing added to this at all. You go ahead and you take the chips out and you turn your lard up and you bring it to about 400 degrees and you put your chips back in there and they puff. And you take them out and you season them up and that's it. That's all. I mean, it's amazing. I love simple things that come out to be just amazing. I mean, I love pig skins, obviously. But compared to other snack products and protein things out there, this is very, very not very processed compared to most. So it's really beautiful. There we go. There's the chicharrones. So when you're looking at a whole hog, and if you have a family that you're feeding, you live on a farm, or if you're a rancher and you're grazing hogs, I mean, the amount of skin that is on each hog is by weight more than there are pork chops in the animal. So you have to utilize this. You have to eat this. You have to be able to preserve it. So making pork rinds and chicharrones is definitely a way of preserving and a way of feeding your family, of a necessity. It's really regionally, there's so many different ways that you can have pork rinds and chicharrones. I really kind of compare them a little bit to like barbecue. You got your Carolina style barbecue, you got a Texas style barbecue, you got a Kansas City style barbecue, a Texas, so on and so on. Everybody thinks that their style is best, but they're all great. And the same when it comes to pork rinds. You got your cracklins, you got your pig puffs, you got your bacon bit chicharrones, and the hog hides. I mean, you got them all, and it's different wherever, but it's always something that somebody loves, and they're actually using this simple process to put energy in their body to live their day. Societies and cultures have been fueled by pigskin for centuries and still are today. So back to us at the restaurant, being in a fine dining restaurant, and this was really right when there was like sous vide going on, so I wanted to come up with probably pretty much the most complicated way to make chicharrones, and I did. And it definitely was not the easy route. I made it a lot more difficult to myself because it wasn't as simple as the traditional way of cooking chicharrones, but they were great. People liked them. We'd put them on dishes. We'd just put them at the bars, at the bar with beer and stuff. It was great, but definitely was not the simple process. Made it much harder for myself and everybody else in the kitchen. But what we did do is we completed that circle. We completed the circle of the animal. We were able to utilize the whole thing, and we definitely love them all. So a little bit about the company to kind of start about with why chicharrones are great for us. So about 7 years ago, I was working at a restaurant and I wanted a little bit more than what I was getting out of this experience. And so I left the restaurant and started working for a nonprofit called Chefs. Stands for Conquering Homeless to Education of Food Services. And I was a chef instructor, and our goal was a reentry program for homeless parolees and addicts to get them jobs in San Francisco. It's still going on. We have an event with them coming up soon. It's a great program. And I was able to give back, and I felt like I was filling the void that I lost working so hard and chasing the dream of being the next top chef on Food and Wine. And I just loved it, and I just was like very happy. I was like, this is great. I feel great. Had my son Tanner was on, my first son Tanner was on the way. He was coming in, and the problem was that I wasn't making enough money. I was basically making about half the amount of money I needed to survive to pay the bills. So baby was going to need diapers, and I had pig skins in my fridge, so I started making chicharrónes in my apartment. This was an amazing experience. There was a lot of challenges that came up to it because, as I kind of explained the process to you before, it's not necessarily a clean process, even the more refined process that we did. But I guess you could say I kind of always had this entrepreneurial drive, so I was just like, I can do this. I'm going to make these chicharrones. I'm going to get out there and sell them. I think my first kind of business I ever really started, I actually shouldn't call it a business. In third grade, I was selling Playboys and fireworks in the bathroom to all my fellow students. And I didn't get caught, but I know my mom's probably going to watch this, and she's going to not be happy. And actually, the first handmade product ever made, well before I started the company, was called Way Nice Rice. And so it was rice that cooked and dehydrated and puffed and put some togarashi on. It was super tasty. I presented it in a Chinese to-go box and wrapped it up, and I put it in a wheelbarrow and walked down to Union Street, where I knew there was a lot of people walking around. I was like, hey, when you come try these Way Nice Rice, they're great. It's a wonderful snack. And everybody's looking at me like, why is this guy trying to sell me his lo mein left over from last night? And it definitely was nothing Way Nice about the Way Nice Rice. So I put my head down and walked back to the apartment and ate those for the next 2 weeks. So there definitely was a trial of just trying to figure out what worked. And so, but I just knew I knew I could do it. And so our first customer that we had was Elixir Saloon in the Mission, which happens to be in the same block that I live on still currently, 15th and Guerrero. Our next customer was Sam over at Buy Right Market, which, if you guys are familiar with, he's this huge supporter of all these small businesses, and really could not have done, I mean, I just got goosebumps. You know, really could not have done it with support from him and others like him. You know, we've been very fortunate in the Bay Area to be part of the food scene and been accepted and embraced, and very blessed for that. So during this process, so here's our chicharrones. You can see when we first started making, these were bagged in my apartment, probably sitting there watching some television or something like that. So during this process of creating these chicharrones out of something that was considered waste or trim, and there was a lot of things that we ended up doing because it was not actually sustainable to fuel a company, to pay bills, and to grow a staff. So we started teaching butchery classes, sausage making classes, you know, wherever I can do them. We do them at La Casina in the city. Started working at the Ferry Plaza Farmers Market. We had a booth there on Thursdays and Saturdays, where we still do. We opened up a barbecue restaurant this past year. Wrote 2 books, one on whole animal butchery, one on sausage making. We opened up a butcher shop in 2012. And after starting the original goal over 6 years ago to make these chicharrones in my apartment was to get them on shelves, to get them on retailers. And so now we currently have them in Whole Foods, which is a quite accomplishment for all of us. And then when I say all of us, it's never been just me or just one other person. It's been every single person that's worked at 4505 Meats, past, present, and future. And we definitely, we couldn't have done it without the beautiful puffed pigskin. So I guess to wrap this thing up and talk about why this has just been so amazing. I mean, the whole time there's been a lot of just kind of challenges to go down the road, and the pigskin just represents that the answer is just right in front of you. And as you can, when you're trying to figure out what the answer is to a problem, it seems like usually 9 out of 10 times, for me at least, it is the byproduct of the main my main focus, or is the byproduct of the pork chop. Chicharrónes are just an example of all the other parts of an animal that you can eat. There's the lamb neck, which is amazing. Any part of the neck of the animal is amazing. You got blood sausage, head cheese, Cajun boudin. I mean, the list goes on and on of amazing products that you don't usually get eaten because there's too much focus going otherwise, or there's just the name is hard to get past. So as our duty as consumers, we really need to support utilizing the whole animals, your small, local butchers, your local artisans, the farmers, the ranchers, and it's definitely our duty as consumers. And sorry. So, well, let's see here. So realizing and seeing that the answer is right in front of me at times is definitely kind of put me onto a path that I think is going to be much better, and I hope my mom is proud that I'm now no longer taking the incorrect path and really kind of focusing on making the right decisions and looking at what's right in front of me, the pigskin. So thank you very much.